Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not, and you're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan. But you knew that, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hello, Potter Than Hellions. Welcome back to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is Steve, your host. I'm joined this evening via Skype by
BC.
All right, and on the keyboards across from me is
Dylan.
And how's everybody doing out there? And we are getting back to our usual recording when there's a fucking blizzard out there. So you may hear an odd scraping sound. That'll be the plow going up and down the street in front of our house. So, yeah. And BB's actually working tonight, so I'm going to be reading his picks. As you'll see from the title, it's going to be our year-end thing, so we're going to talk about our favorite albums and stuff this year. And BC, you know what we're not going to be able to talk about this year? Fucking concerts. Except concerts. We didn't, other than the Monsters of Rock, we really didn't do a whole hell of a lot of shows. Everything's been
you make it
canceled.
sound like the Monsters of Rock was no big deal. At least you guys got to go on the Monsters of
absolutely.
Rock, unlike
that
some
was,
of us.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it was fantastic. I'm so glad that we got to do that because
Usually there's 10 or 15 shows we could talk about.
oh, I know, easily, and we had tickets for a bunch of shows that were canceled too. And actually, the only physical ones I have tickets for Accept down at Penn's Peak. I still got those, but everything else has been canceled or returned or whatever the hell. So. All right, let's get into this here. Before we get going, I just want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in. It's been a crazy year to say the least, and I'm glad that at least we got to continue the podcast and still listen to some great music. And you know what? For a year that sucked for going to shows or not going to shows, not being able to get out and do a whole bunch of stuff with crowds of people and stuff like that. There was some good goddamn music that came out this year. I was like, every year it seems like it's getting tougher and tougher to pick your top albums because there's just cranking shit out there. And so what do you think, BC?
Like you said, a lot of good stuff, but I expect next year to be incredibly hard because everybody should put that album out. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's there were a lot more albums than I anticipated because you forget. This year was kind of a blur, so you forget that all these albums came out at once because it just feels like there was pre-pandemic and then post-pandemic is just, well, not post, but during pandemic it's all kind of one thing, and it was tough to remember some of the stuff that came out, but thankfully the internet's there to help me remember what albums are actually in this year as opposed to 2019 or.
Yeah, and like I said, it was tough to pick, and as of like last weekend, I had mine narrowed down to like 25 albums or something like that, and the playlist that I made for it was 589 songs and 41 hours and 41 minutes long. That's how much shit I really didn't get to everything, but I got to most of it within the last 2 weeks, so I listened to a ton of stuff. Well, we're speaking of what I was listening to. BC, what would you have going this week? Anything besides what we were talking about tonight?
A little bit of all that, and I just picked up that. I was talking to you earlier today, Def Leppard live in Vegas. I've seen it. It's been out for a while. I've seen it, and for some reason I actually looked at the back of it. The set list to me was very good. So I picked it up. So far, I'm only on the first CD, but very good.
Yeah, I was actually looking at that down the Gallery Sound this week. So a little Def Leppard. That's the Vegas one, right? You said?
Yeah, there's the Vegas, and then that's just like there must have been. It might have been from they were out in Vegas, right?
Yeah, they did a residency, I think.
And the London one is like it's pretty much they played a Hysteria album.
Okay.
And then some other tunes.
Cool. Dylan, how about you? What do you got going this week? Anything new?
Yesterday, the Foo Fighters played live on Amazon Music Holiday Plays. They played like a 5-song set. It was a short set, and not the songs I would have picked for a short set, but it was still fun to see. They played a cover of Run Rudolph Run, which was probably the best song of the set list. They did a cool little guitar solo from Chris Shiflett, and I think they played Learn to Fly, Best of You, and Times Like These, and then they played Shame Shame, which is that new song that I don't like at all. And hearing it live also did not make me like it any better.
Didn't help?
No, but it was a fun live set, and it sounds like Dave's voice is getting better, so I'm glad that actually they weren't allowed to tour this year so that he could have vocal rest and actually get his voice back from all the screaming that he was.
Was he blowing it out?
Yeah, he was blowing it out quite a bit. He was sounding really rough live recently, but he sounds pretty good now, so that's good.
Maybe someone else should learn from that. And for me, actually, I was listening to some classic Kiss today. I listened to the first 3 albums, Kiss, Hotter Than Hell, and Dress to Kill. And then I listened to some live stuff. I had a mixed playlist of Kiss Live from Kiss Alive, Alive 2, Alive 3, Alive 4, and then that Millennial show, and then also Kiss Unplugged. So I had a good mix of that going. And it's funny because I listened to the first 3 albums and I got the Hotter Than Hell. When Coming Home came on, I'm like, what the fuck song is this? I'm like, because I'm so used to hearing it now from the Unplugged, to hear it, the version from Hotter Than Hell, seems weird. Because I was truly at a loss for what the hell song that was, because I'm so used to it acoustically. And then when it got over, I'm like, ugh. That kind of sucks compared to the, the Unplugged, which is unusual for me to even say that, but that's what I was listening to. So for this week, I got some classic Kiss going, and also the ton of albums I listened to from this year. BC's got some Def Leppard in Vegas, and Dylan's got a little live set from the Foo Fighters for, what was it for? Was it for Apple Music?
Amazon Music.
For Amazon Music?
Yep.
All right, so that's cool. So check those out, and let's get into the year in review. Like I said before, it's been a weird year. And, as far as live shows, we were, and you're right, Dylan, we were fortunate enough to go on the Monsters of Rock cruise and get to see, we've probably seen between 30 and 40 shows, because some bands we've seen twice, and there was like 50-some bands on the boat.
You basically saw a year's worth of concerts on the
Within
on the
a
ship.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Within 5 days.
Yeah, and it was great because, like we said, there's a lot of bands that we never would have an opportunity to see, bands like Heat and Honeymoon Suite and Thunder, bands like that, and it was just cool. And even BC, I was just thinking today. Remember Max Sabbath?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear them? Dylan?
Is that the McDonald's Black
Yeah,
Sabbath
they're just
cover
like
band?
Yeah.
I don't know why today that just popped in my head, and the Ronald McDonald's
who was the bass player?
the Aussie
The
guy.
player.
Was it Grimace?
I think Grimace was the bass player. It wasn't the Hamburglar the guitar player. It was either one. No, the Hamburglar was the drummer, I think. But he was in Peter Criss makeup.
Was Mayor McCheese in attendance?
I don't know, but it was. I mean,
there was a bunch of people on stage. I don't know.
They were good though. They were cool. But they did like weird lyrics to the songs.
Well, I'm sure.
But they sounded very, very Sabbath-like. When the Ronald McDonald guy had this big grill up in front and everything, was like grilled shit. It was crazy. So I don't even know why that popped into my head. But I wasn't even thinking about the Monsters of Rock cruise earlier today when that it just literally just like boom, Max Sabbath popped in my head, which is really weird. But so like I said, it has been a weird year. And Dylan, you didn't see any shows this year, did you?
I did not see a single live show. I saw some live sets online, but I have not seen a live show. And most of the live sets I saw online were after the fact, so they weren't actually live.
Right.
Not the same.
I know. So it was a very disappointing year for me, live music-wise, but hopefully next year we can get something towards the end of the year.
And there's some cool stuff, too. Like, a lot of bands did live streams. LA Guns just did one. They did the full Cocked and Loaded album. I think Jeff Tate just did one. He did Rage for Order and Empire, I believe he did. And then, I don't know when this episode comes out. This episode comes out next week.
Yeah.
Obviously next week, but...
I think it's going to be coming out Christmas Eve. Christmas Day, this will be coming out.
Oh, okay, so Christmas Day. So it will have already happened, and there's a Kiss...
So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah, really, everybody. Hope you have an awesome Christmas, for what it is. And, if you feel you need to just hang by yourselves. Just be on the safe side. Then go for it. If that's not your thing, then enjoy and just everybody be safe. But because even by now on the 18th, which I think is when last week's episode came out, that there's a Kiss like a live event going on down in Florida where the guys, the Talisman, Ryan Spencer Cook and Jeremy Asbrock and Phil Schaus are doing stuff, and then Todd Kearns and Bruce Kulick did stuff. So I'm sure it'll probably be available to get. And for those of you that watched it, let us know how it was, because I think I'll be tuning in. TSO is doing something.
Kiss itself is
Kiss
going to be
is doing
something.
yeah, the New Year. Yeah, we didn't talk about that at all. What do you guys think about the New Year's Eve live stream? What about you, Dylan?
Yeah, that was one of the predictions we had in the Kiss episode we did with the Kiss.
I think Granza said it.
The Kiss crew, but it's probably going to be the same old set list. Maybe a different stage show.
Well, the stage looks huge. Have you seen the pictures?
Yeah.
There's pictures online of the stage in front of the hotel in Dubai.
I think if they're
fucking massive.
I think if they're going to be working on any surprises, it's going to be visual surprises. I don't think they're going to be changing up the set list that much. I think it's just going to be, we're just going to have a lot of spectacle, but it's going to be the same. Your Rock and Roll Night, Detroit Rock City, Love Gun, I Was Made for Loving You, Beth at the end there. Yeah, I'm not expecting anything crazy for sure.
Yeah, I'm not expecting any deep tracks myself. What's your thoughts, BC?
I agree with both you guys. I mean, I'm not gonna be like, ooh, I don't foresee that happening. I wish it would happen. Like we discussed this many times. If you're gonna go out, give the fans something. But unfortunately, they don't. And it's a shame they got the lineup to do it with.
Yeah, and I'm optimistic about it. I'm hoping it's going to be cool. It's better than nothing. You know what I mean? It really is. I haven't looked at the packages. I know they've discounted it already twice. I think because it started out at $50, and I think it's like $30 now, maybe $30 or $40. I think they discounted it twice. I know they did at least once. So I mean, I'll probably watch it because I think Granz is going to get it. So I think myself and Rob are going to go down. You're working, right, BC? I think.
When is it? New Year's Eve, right?
It's New Year's Eve, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on at 48.
Yeah. So, and it's on at noon too on our East Coast time here. So, it's like if for Sunny Pooney on the West Coast, you gotta be watching it at 9:00 in the morning out there. But
early drinking.
Yeah, but I guess you can with the different packages you can I think if you get the basic one, you can stream it like one more time. So like if you want to watch it, after you watch it live, you can watch it again like later. And I think there's one package. I mean, you can spend $1,000 on whatever packages they have. And BC, if you want to go over there, it's only like $15,000 for the suite over there. But that doesn't include food or airfare, so that's just to stay there. So,
oh god.
And then you can. They have a thing where you could have seats on the floor but it says you may have limited view, and you can't even stand up, so you have to sit for the whole thing. Like, if I spend that much money to go over there, I'd rather be on one of the balconies in one of the suites and watch it there and party there.
Well, tomorrow I guess they're doing a giveaway on Twitter or something, so maybe you could earn yourself a trip to the concert. Who knows?
I don't think I would go. I honestly don't think I would go.
You win. It's like, thanks, but no thanks.
But yeah, just
I personally wouldn't risk it with everything that's going on, but be a good a good Christmas present to somebody who's willing to risk their life to go over there and experience it.
But I mean, like even work wise, like you would have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you'd have to
when you come back. You know what I mean? So whatever time you use to go out there, you're gonna be using.
Yeah, I'm sure customs is gonna be
whatever
rough,
So I mean, hey, if you can go, more power to you. Let us know how it was. I mean, we'll be watching it, but it would be cool to be there. But like, I'm kind of disappointed in them because. Like there's so many venues, like they could have done this like twice. They could have did one on the West Coast and like went to the Forum or something like that and had a spectacular show there. Give the crew people and the venue some money, and then do an East Coast one like at Madison Square Garden or something like that. and have a lottery. Say we're only going to let like 5,000 people in this thing, and you have to pay $20 to get yourself into a lottery to get picked to go to this show, one of the shows, and you can pick whatever show you want to go, and then they could donate that to the crew people or to the people that work at the venue and stuff like that, and then just have a socially distanced event, one on each coast, and you get there how you get there, but and it would go to some kind of charity and help some people out and stuff like that. I'm kind of disappointed that they are, doing it in Dubai. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic looking, cool. Like music wise, I think you're right, Dylan. We're going to get the same set probably. They just don't have it in them to do deep tracks. They just don't. No. And like look at major bands like Iron Maiden, Metallica. Like they'll throw out deep tracks all the time, and they're. I would venture to say globally more popular than Kiss. And they can do it, and they have crazy diehard fans like Kiss does. And they, and Kiss pretty much, they cater to the casual Kiss fan more than they do to the diehard Kiss fan. I'm not saying, go out and play the Elder, although there'd be a handful of people that would absolutely love that, me not being one of them. But, some people would love that, but like they're just not gonna mix it up. They just like I said, they just don't have that in them. So there's our Kiss discussion for the fucking day here. So let's get into our albums. We're gonna let Dylan go first. So give us your number 10 to number 6.
Okay.
And then we'll do a little quick discussion on them, even if we even heard them.
Okay. So I don't have them in any particular order. I mean, my number one album is my number one album.
Okay.
But the rest of these, they're kind of, interchangeable because I really enjoyed all of them for different reasons. And it's tough to compare apples to oranges on a lot of these because, me, I have my eclectic taste. And I always kind of go out of the box with it. So I really wanted to try and challenge myself to pick some different things. And I think the first thing that I'm going to talk about is probably the most different album I've ever heard in my life. The precursor to this album before I start talking about it, this came out January. So my one coworker, Bob Bannon, was talking to me and he goes, I just listened to my favorite album of 2020 and it is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. And of course that intrigues me, so I ask him what the album is. And he tells me it's the album called I Disagree by this artist named Poppy. Now, Poppy's a very weird thing. It was kind of a parody YouTube account where it's like this young girl who's like this blonde hair, it's like kind of a pop star type of deal, but she
not Poppy from Seinfeld, right?
No, not that Poppy. No, it's like secret cult stuff, like underneath the evilness underneath. But this album is a metal album, and it had the first song, Concrete, goes through like death metal stuff. There's like a light and like sunny part in it. It like goes through all these different like phases. It goes from Beatles to death metal. The singing is just like light and popish, but the guitar work is fantastic. The songs are so weird, and it's one of those albums that I had to listen to like 12 times because I'm thinking, do I like this? No, I hate it. No, I really like it. No, I hate it. No, I love it. So I was going back and forth with it. So I had to put it on my list because I haven't thought about an album this much in a very long time. And it's like if you look at the album cover, it's just looks like a death metal album cover. But it is the most interesting listen you'll ever have. Whether you like it or not, it is absolutely interesting. So the first album that I'm going to be talking about is I Disagree by the artist Poppy. The next album I want to talk about is from a band that came under my radar when they were touring with Mike Portnoy. They were his opening band and also I believe part of his backing band. The band Haken, I mentioned them on the podcast. Their album Virus that came out July 24th, 2020. Very much a Dream Theater like band. They're progressive metal. They have a very Dream Theater like feel in the instrumentals. The vocals are okay, but the instrumental work is really good. Great guitar work. And funnily enough, they had come up with the name Virus before the coronavirus stuff. So that was just a coincidence that they came out with an album, Virus, in 2020. But it was really funny. I really enjoyed that album, though. So that's going to be the second album that I talked about. Next album from an artist that I remember the very first time I heard about them. You were talking about a band called Body Count and how it was Ice-T, and you played There Goes the Neighborhood for me, and I was kind of blown away by what was going on there. They came out with the new album, Carnivore. So this was a really good album. They do a cover of Ace of Spades. They have there's a lot of spoken word from Ice-T on the album. Really great song that features Riley Gale from Power Trip before he passed away. Point the Finger. This is a really awesome album. Really good lyrics, great instrumentals. Dave Lombardo's on the album as well. Amy Leaf sings as well from Evanescence. So it's a really great album from Body Count, which I think is a really cool band. That it's always great to see Ice-T branching out from Law and Order SVU to do his metal band. The next album I'm going to be talking about is from one of a band that we talk about a lot on the album Trivium. What the Dead Men Say from April 24th, 2020. Of course, I talked about one of their songs on the best songs of the year in the middle of the year, the episode that we did. A really great album from them. It's a dark album. Great songs like Catastrophist, What the Dead Man Say, Bending the Arc to Fear. Like, these are really just classic Trivium sounding songs. They're a band that could do no wrong in my book. We saw them live a couple of years ago, and they were fantastic. And this is a really great album from them. So that's going to be my next one. So I did 1, 2, 3. Was that my third album that I talked about, or fourth? Fourth album, right? So then the last album that I want to talk about to cut off my stuff is actually an album that you brought to my attention that apparently everybody was talking about, and I had never heard of them before. So I decided to check them out. And apparently they've been around since the 80s, which is very surprising to me. But listening to this newest album, I was very, very much impressed. From Mr. Bungle, The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny Demo. I don't know, did you look into this album at all, Dad? Because
no, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to. I listened to it, though.
It's a re-recording of their first self-released demo tape. But they added a couple songs, and they have, on drums, Dave Lombardo, and they have Scott Ian playing on guitar as well. And they actually do a cover of Stormtroopers the Death Song as well, which was Scott Ian's, one of Scott Ian's bands. But really fun thrash punk album. They're clearly having a good time with the lyrics. Like, some of it, tongue-in-cheek stuff. But it's a really just great album, good riffs, a good thrashing, good time that I have a lot of fun with. So I had to put it on the list. From Mr. Bungle, The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny Demo.
All right, cool. BC, do you know any of them albums?
I will talk about the ones that I know about. Body Count, that missed my list. That was in my final 25 or so. But he fell out because there's so many other albums that were, for me at least, up there. In that Mr. Bungle, it's funny, I listened to Bungle or Mungle? Or Bungle.
Bungle, yeah.
Correct?
Yep.
Because that came up, and I was looking something up, and that was underneath it. I'm going, wait a minute. And I clicked on it a little bit, but like I said, I want to check that out a little bit more. They're the two I heard about. It's somewhat familiar.
Okay. For me, that Poppy one, I never heard of that. I'm interested to check that one out. The Trivium one is really, really good. The Mr. Bungle one, and I listened to that. I think I listened to it twice through. It's good. There's a lot of cool shit, like crazy time changes, and I think the first time that I even heard of this album out, I think it was Mike Cordes from the R4 podcast. There was a picture of him in his car on the street, and he said, I'm listening to this, and so is everyone else in the neighborhood, or something like that. And it was like the Mr. Bungle, and I'm like, and I've heard that name before. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to check these. I checked them out, and I was like, wow, it was really good. So, I mean, I just didn't get enough to spend enough time with it to make my list, but I really liked it. The Trivium, very good. What else? I think that was all that I know.
Did you definitely didn't listen to Poppy?
No.
Did you listen to Body Count?
The Body Count I listened to as well. I did. I listened to it like twice when it came on. I listened to it another time. Very good, very good. They always put out good stuff. They're
they're solid.
They're a freaking solid band. So good five though, Dylan. A couple I got to check out though. BC, what do you got? What's your 10 to 5? I mean, in Dylan's list, I'm going to say it right now, mine is like that, except for actually my top two are a tie because I can't decide which one I like better. But like the rest could go anywhere on my list. So what do you got, BC?
Yeah, my list is not in any kind of order. Every one of these could be anywhere. That's why they made the 10 list of the year. I'm going to start off with going all the way back to January with Sons of Apollo with MMXX. I don't know what that means offhand. I know it's some kind of... But I just like this band. I mean, it keeps growing on me. Every time I go back to it, I like it more and more, especially the song of King of Delusion. After that, newer one, Corey Taylor with the CMFT. We don't know what that means.
Yes, we do.
I guess, and especially all my picks here, there's three things in my head that I look for in an album, and every one of these albums have it. Especially all the vocals on every one of the bands I picked tonight are just, to me, stick out and they're distinctive in their own way. That's why I picked them. Number 8, I'm going to go with Fate's Warning. Here's a band. I can't even look. I think it's because Joey Vera is playing bass with them now, pretty much. And I started getting in their catalog, and they came out with that album, Long Day, Good Night, this past November. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. Like his vocals are very different, which caught my ear right off the bat. And musically, the band's just up and down. Like it goes from rock into mid-tempo mellow tunes. Just overall good album. Another closet band, I guess you would say, and mine would be number 7. My pick would be Lords of Black, Arch Enemy of the Souls, Part 1. This is a band that, I don't know, how many years ago did we first find these guys? I don't know how we found these guys.
Yeah, I think they were a band that was one of the things, like if you listen to something, they come up underneath it. If you like this, you'll like this kind of thing. I think like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. They've been out a couple years.
I believe 3 albums. 3 or 4
I think
albums.
so, and they got a cover album too.
This is just a continuous one cover up?
I think so. Either that or the one has a bunch of covers on the end.
That might be
like a bonus thing type thing.
But anyway, I mean, that's a band that's, to me, very underrated. They're not big in the United States, of course, because nothing's big in the United States. But then I'm going to go up to my number 6 pick, which at first I was not down with the change this band did, but it's grown on me big time in the last 8 months probably, with Bonfire with a Fistful of Fire. I mean, that's a band that had a very distinctive vocalist, and then he left the band, and I said that they're done. And pretty much the band broke up except for the guitar player, and he formed a new version of Bonfire. And to me, it's really caught my ear in the last 8 months at least. Very hard, like not popish, but melodic hard rock, and just very good.
All right, cool,
And
good.
That takes me back.
Cool. Yeah. For me, Sons of Apollo, real great band, and they're growing on me too. I like they're very progressive type music, very very cool. And the CMFT. That's a fantastic album. That's one that I used, I think, for one of my gems or something a couple of weeks ago or a month or so ago. Really solid album. Fate's Warning, I have not listened to one note of that album because I'm afraid to, because when we did that one on the one episode, I absolutely hated it. So I'm afraid.
That's back from the 80s.
I'm afraid to listen to it. I will probably eventually get to it because of Joey Vera. He may have produced that as well, I think. I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking he did. I'm probably wrong, but whatever. Lords of Black, solid album. Those guys are very good. I'm glad we started listening to those guys. They're real good. And Bonfire, this is an album that just missed my list as well. Very cool. I really enjoy that album. I've listened to that album a ton this year. So good start.
Yeah, I think the only one that I listened to was Sons of Apollo. I know Sonny wasn't a fan of this new album, but I didn't think it was too bad. I thought it was pretty good. It didn't make my list, but I did enjoy it. The other ones I meant to check out, especially the Corey Taylor one, I just it slipped my mind, or I was trying to get a list that was different from everybody else's, so I was avoiding the albums that I knew somebody would like pick up or things like that, barring one or two. But from what I heard, it's a good list. I've heard of all those bands, so that's good at least.
All right. Good start for everybody so far. I'm going to read BB's 10-6 here.
Yeah.
He's got number 10. He's got Armored Saint Punching the Sky. He has John Petrucci, Terminal Velocity. He has Raven, Metal City. Ace Frehley, Origins 2. That's a surprising one on the list from BB. And he's got LA Guns, Renegades. So I'll just go over his real quick for my thinking. Armored Saint Punching the Sky. Absolutely fantastic album. It just missed mine because I don't know, it kind of loses me about 3/4 of the way through the album a little bit. I got to give it some more time. John Petrucci, Terminal Velocity, I didn't even know that was out. No idea that was out. Raven, Metal City, very good album. I gave that a couple listens, very good. Ace Origins 2, we talked about that a while ago on an episode. I don't mind it. I like it. It's good. And he's got LA Guns Renegades. This is the Stephen Riley version of LA Guns. Oh, excuse me. I like it. I really like this album. It's got a good vibe to it. And like I think BC said it before, if you're expecting Phil Lewis, Tracy Guns, LA Guns, it's not that. But it's a really solid, I wouldn't even say like really hard rock, but just a good rock album. What do you think, BC?
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm gonna say that I just missed my list too. LA Guns. I mean, it's a good rock album. It stands on their own. Unfortunately, they're using LA Guns name, but I understand why. And Armored Saint. What else? I'm missing one.
Raven, John Petrucci, and Ace.
John Petrucci. I like that album. I mean, but it's mainly just guitars.
Oh, it's instrumental mostly.
Everything I heard off it so far is just instrumental, which is, don't get me wrong, he's phenomenal. Ace really not bad, steady Ace, but like you said, that's a surprise.
And then Raven,
I have not checked that album out, to be honest with you.
And actually, BC, they
but
did.
We saw him live at least.
Yeah, and I was gonna say they did two new songs in the two different shows that they played from this album, and it's solid. So give it a check out. It's pretty good. So what do you think, Dylan?
Petrucci, yeah, I did like what I heard from that. It's tough for me to listen to instrumental albums front to back because I need the vocals to break it up a bit. Just in my opinion. Having said that, as a Dream Theater fan, it's mostly instrumental, but no, it is good because it's Petrucci. He's a guitar virtuoso, and it's really on display on that album. And Ace, that's a lot of really good covers on there, but there's also some bad covers. So it's one of those middling albums for me for the year. I do enjoy listening to some of it, but there's other parts that make me want to run into traffic. So, it's that mixed bag that I got for Ace.
Cool. So let me do mine here. Oh, there it is. Okay. Mine started out my list this year. Like I said, mine's in no particular order, except for the top two, maybe top three are pretty much tied. Definitely the last two that I'll mention are definitely tied. The first one I'm going to talk about here is a band that I've been championing these guys since we started the podcast. I've been dying to see these guys. They're fantastic live from what I've seen on YouTube and stuff like that. And the band's Avatar. And it's Hunter Gatherer is the album. Fantastic. It's a great mix of just like heavy metal, and there's some screaming stuff in it, but there's some really cool melodic passages in the songs. Like the song Colossus is fantastic, and they just put out a video for the song Secret Door. It's got this whistling part in it, and then it gets really it's like just such a cool one of those up and down type songs. Song called Justice is absolutely fantastic. Wormhole is fantastic, the last song on the album. So absolutely give that one a shot. It's a really cool album. I've been enjoying the hell out of that album all year. And then my next one, our buddy Mark Anthony Kaye, he cracked my top 10 this year with In the Year 3073 Book 2. I've been listening to that album often. I binged on it when it first came out because we had the interview with Mark. But it's a really solid album with him and Joe Bailey with the back and forth vocals are absolutely fantastic. The guests he has on it are great. Songs like Sacred Sons is probably one of my top songs of the year. I think it's fantastic. Getaway, The Great Lie, Mastermind, just a solid album from Mark. And so check out our episode with that, talking about that with Mark. And Mark comes on our Rush episodes as well. We had him on doing Rush this year, and we had him doing a couple Project Gemini things. And we're gonna have Mark coming up on an episode coming up for something other than Project Gemini or Rush, because I know he's a fan of a ton of hard rock and metal. So we're gonna get him on another type of episode. And my next one, it's a band called War Kings. I gotta thank my buddy Sonny Pooney for turning me on to this band. And the album's called Revenge. It's like it'd be like a soundtrack to not Spartacus. What's that movie with Russell Crowe? Gladiator. Okay, duh. Yeah. It's like a soundtrack to that movie. It's like that kind of genre, like epic battles with like stuff like that. It's if you want to, my buddies Tom and Zeus. It's not Dungeons and Dragons metal, but it's like kind of like a Roman version of what like Amon Amarth would be. Just a fantastic metal album. There's a little bit of screamage, very little, but the vocals are melodic, very good. And my next one, this is my my weird pick album of the year. I had what was that one I had last year? The 69 Eyes I had last year. They were my kind of odd, weird band type pick. But my one this year is Hank Von Hell. The album's called Dead. It's one of those crazy albums that is kind of reminds me of the 69 Eyes. Just very cool, very quirky kind of
kooky is
hard,
the word I would
hard
describe.
rock. But it's good, though. There's a lot of really cool shit on there. There's a song called Crown with Gwenera, the lead singer from the band Thunder Mother. Songs like Black and Eyes, Disco. There's so many different styles of music in this hard rock album. It's very, very good. And my number 6 is going to be, I've been waiting for these guys to put out an album when we were doing the podcast because I love these guys. Wolf. They come out with the album Feeding the Machine. Absolutely fantastic album. I could not wait for this album to come out. I love these guys. Scandinavian metal, just a kick-ass fucking band. I've been following these guys since I think 2009 when Ravenous came out. I was actually finally able to get that on vinyl as well. Songs like Guillotine, Dead Man's Hand, the title track. There's a song called Spoonbender that is really cool. It ends up with Thief Inside, just a great straight up metal band, no guttural vocals, just clean high type vocals, not like totally screechy, but just a cool metal album. And so check it out. It's Feeding the Machine by Wolf. Just these guys are fucking fantastic. Love them. BC.
Alrighty, you guys, like you said, you've been being whatever word I'm looking for, Avatar. I think I got turned off the one time with the vocals, so I have to give that more of a scope. Mark Anthony K, what more can you say? Constantly putting out great material. And I have to agree with you with the additional vocals of Joe. Gives it that extra tinge of flavor, I guess you would say. I missed out the next one. What was the name of the band?
The War Kings.
Your number 8.
War Kings.
What is it?
War Kings.
War Kings. Okay. I'm not familiar with these guys, but I'll check them out.
You'll like them.
Okay. Hank Von Hell?
Yep.
I heard you talk about this. I'm not familiar with that neither. And then your number 6 pick, Wolf. That just missed my list too. Fell down with the LA Guns. But good picks.
The only one that I listened to was Hank Von Hell, which is really good. That missed my list a little bit, but I liked how different it was. It was very Rob Zombie-ish, like with the playfulness of it, like throwing back to the old school, B-movie stuff, which I really enjoy. I always like that kooky aspect of it, but the rest of the albums I have heard of, but I have not checked out.
All right. So there's our first 5 that we're going to talk about here. So what I did was I want to do some thank yous now real quick before we get in. It's been a long year. We've had a lot of cool stuff on the things. And first of all, I want to thank my wife for putting up with me, and actually now Dylan as well, with all this and with us recording at the house more often with this pandemic and all this bullshit going on. She's really put up with a lot. And actually my son Carson, we kicked him out of his area so we could record tonight. So he's missing some NBA 2K here, I think, 2K1 or whatever the hell it's flashing on the fucking TV. Yeah. So he's got his season going there, so we kind of booted him out. And I want to talk about too our other podcaster buddies, Sonny and Steven from the Grown Up Rock podcast, Tom and Zeus from the Shout Out Loud cast. We've become really good friends with those guys. We've been doing live streams with those guys. I hope you guys have checked them out. If not, they're still on our respective pages. And BC and I, we just did one a couple weeks ago. And BC, doing those live streams are a blast. I mean, it's just like 2 solid hours of just ball busting about everyone's taste in music, and I have a great time doing them. How are you?
I do too. I mean, I will admit I'm always fucking technology, but when you get to do those and the video part of it, it's very cool, very fun. Just, like you said, busting balls and talking about music. What's bad about that? Nothing.
Yeah, we got to get Dylan and BB. I think BB did one of them with me. I think, but we got to get Dylan on one of them. So maybe Dylan can sit in on the next one. But I know we usually do them on Friday nights, and he's usually hanging with his girlfriend on Friday nights. So maybe we can steal him away for one night and get Dylan on one of the live casts. And we've had a bunch of guest hosts on our podcast this year. So I want to thank them real quick. Like I said before, Mark Anthony K, Aaron Martell from the R4 podcast, Mark Satorka. He hasn't physically been out, but he does all the music for us. Our buddy Mark Hoover from Rock 107, he hooked us up with all the interviews we're going to talk about later. Tom Gelati and Zeus from Shout Out Loudcast. Our KISS crew, Rob Kelleher, Chris Granza, Scott Sadowski, our KISS crew that we always have do the KISS X episodes with. Jen Roberts Vena and her husband John, for when we have Jen on there, we record at her house at her Lucky's bar. And thank you for your hospitality. And it's always nice when you go to do a podcast and someone threatens your life, Jen. Yeah. Our buddy Sonny Hollywood Pony and Stephen Michael, both of those guys, like I said, from Grown Up Rock podcast. Dave Borowski comes on. He does a lot of classic rock stuff with us. We had Joey Casada come on and do an episode with us as well. Carl Kennedy and the Kennedy Band, Charlie Rossello, Tony Gruba, and Mike Santaserio. They came on. We did a great interview with those guys. Our buddy Pete Ciceri from the I Love It Loudcast was on. Rockin' Mike Cordes from the R4 podcast. We had Kaylin Provo, our faithful listener from Canada. Thank you for coming on, Kaylin. And we had our buddy Joe Mangieri sit in with us this year on one of our episodes. So thanks for coming and hanging with us, Joe. We had some great guests this year, you guys. Some great guest hosts. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, it was great having such a wide variety of people, both new and old. It was cool hearing their different perspectives on things, and they really add a lot to the podcast, I think. Because a lot of times it's all of us agreeing on something, or, well, I mean, that's not true, but
yeah,
a lot of times it's all of us having similar viewpoints on certain things. But it's always nice to get in a fresh perspective, or different people, or even interviewing the different people we got to interview over this past year. So thank you, everybody, for putting up with all of us.
Yeah, for sure. We had some cool guests this year, BC.
Oh God, yes. I mean, like Dylan said, everybody brings something different to the table, and sometimes opinions are on the same page, other times not. But I mean, all good times. I mean, Joey from ZO2, he's funny. I could listen to him talk for hours, man.
He could listen to himself talk for hours.
Yeah, he probably could. But no, great shows, good times, and good memories.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and it was great having Joey on. And when I did the interview with him, it was just like sitting down and shooting the shit with someone that I've known for 20 years. Just a great. I'm not even gonna call it an interview. It was a great conversation that we just recorded. It was friggin' fantastic. And what I did was I pulled some of our listeners that comment with us, and some of our fellow podcasters for what some of their album picks were. I'm going to read them now. Mike Cordes from the R4 podcast, he picked Iron Maiden, Knights of the Dead Live, Mexico City, Testament, Titans of Creation, Mr. Bungle, The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo. You're going to hear that quite a bit, actually. Mark Anthony K picked Between the Stations, a band called Giants. Between the Station is the band. Days Between the Stations, and Giants is the album. AC/DC Power Up, and he also picked Nick Mason's Saucer Full of Secrets live at the Roadhouse. Chris Craig, I'm sure that a lot of this I never heard of either. He picked the Country and Westerns self-titled album, Bruce Springsteen, Letter to You, American Aquarium, Lamentations, and the Air. You probably know these guys, Dylan. They sound like one of the crazy bands you listen to. The Airborne Toxic Event.
Yeah, I do know them.
Oh, see that? I knew he would. See, Dylan and Chris Craig, they're on the same page, and that album's called Hollywood Park. Our buddy Tony Masalem from the band Restrained, he has Heat 2 as pick. Amaranth, Manifest, Striper, Even the Devil Believes. Our buddy John Murphy, he has The Killers, Imploding the Mirage. Pete Yorn, Live at the Troubadour, and the Foo Fighters' Medicine at Midnight.
That album hasn't even come out yet.
He's looking forward to it.
Love
you, Murph.
Killers is a good album. There's a really good solo from Lindsey Buckingham on one of the songs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Our buddy Sonny, he's got Heat, the Heat 2 album, Perfect Plan, Time for a Miracle, and Captain Blackbeard's Sonic Forces. And when he gave me that, I thought he was fucking with me, but he wasn't. It's an actual album, Captain Blackbeard's Sonic Forces. It's actually, it's very good, actually. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be another pirate metal band, but it was not. Our buddy Vinny Fletty from the Shout Out Loud cast, he gave me a whole bunch here. AC/DC Power, his hard rock one is AC/DC Power Up, Armored Saint, Punching the Sky, Mr. Bungle, The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo. His metal is Lamb of God, self-titled, the Testament album, Titans of Creation, Body Count Carnivore. He's got Maiden, Metallica, and Ginger live albums. Mark Arnold, our buddy, are one of our faithful listeners from Canada. He's got AC/DC Power Up, Deep Purple Whoosh, Project Gemini in the year 3073, Book 2, and he has 2 runners-up, the Testament and Armored Saint albums. Our buddy Jeff Gauss, he's got Sodom, Genesis 19, I think that number is X1X, right? That's 19. AC/DC Power Up and Raven Metal City. Our buddy Rob from Vancouver, who is an awesome, faithful listener. Striper, Even the Devil Believes, Deep Purple Whoosh, AC/DC Power Up. And his out-of-format pick, Dylan, this must be for you, is Pearl Jam, Gigaton.
I mean, that's still rock.
I'm sure, but you know how we like to do that. Our buddy Professor Ray Permy from the R4, he's got Tom Petty and the Wildflowers and all the rest. He's got the Rolling Stones Goathead Soup 2020 remaster and the Dirty Knobs Reckless Abandon. Dirty Knobs, that sounds like a porn. Our buddy Brad Restoven from the Slamfest podcast that comes out every Thursday. He has AC/DC Power Up, The Struts Strange Days, and the Casanova's Reptilian Overlord. And our buddy Stephen Michael has Chakra Mad World, Black Swan Shake the World, and Vandenberg 2020. Our faithful listener Steve Vargo, he's got Testament, Titans of Creation, Punching the Sky from Armored Saint, and AC/DC Power Up. Our buddy from R4, Aaron Martell, has another one with Mr. Bungle, The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo. Testament, Titans of Creation, AC/DC Power Up, and his honorable mention is Black Swan Shake the World. And our buddy Scott Gull has the Black Swan album, Striper, Primal Fear, and AC/DC. Guys, thanks for giving us those lists. We really appreciate it. It's cool getting them, and a lot of love for that Mr. Bungle album, Dylan.
Yeah, it's a great album. It's fun. I think is the word I would use. Like it's cool hearing a band go back to songs that they made back in the 80s and re-recording it.
But it's long though.
Yeah, it's a long out.
It's a long fucking
some
demo.
Some of the songs are 8 minutes long, but they don't lose your attention.
No.
They keep it. It's really great. Awesome riffs, like great jams.
That's how Dream Theater does their demos.
Yeah, but it's I would equate it more to Metallica in terms of the longer Metallica ones.
Yeah, but I mean like just lengthwise.
I got the joke.
Yeah, and unfortunately this year we're gonna get the bad out of the way here now before we do our gems. Some devastating deaths to the rock world this year. January started out the year Neil Peart. Neil Peart, I mean, say goodbye to Rush. I mean, they were done anyways, but like just totally done now. Mike Somerville, a guy from a band I listened to, a band from the 70s, Head East. Paul Chapman and Pete Way from UFO, no relation to BC. Frankie Benelli from Quiet Riot. Riley Gale from Power Trip, that is one of Dylan's bands.
Yep.
Lee Kerslake from Uriah Heep, and he's the drummer on the first 2 Ozzy albums. Ed Van Halen. Like you said, I mean, he is our generation's, if you want to call him the Hendrix or Jimmy Page of our generation. And like I said, in my main thing, I mean, devastating, but like you always had that hope that they would be back out around again. Now that is just totally gone. And I want to give a special shout out to one of our great friends that passed away this year, R.A. Furiosi, just a super metal fan. Dude was an awesome paramedic. The countless lives that this guy saved, and he was also an EMT teacher. So and he was just, and his legacy is going to live on through the students that he taught, and it's just a shame. And he's just was a fantastic guy, massive metal fan. We've seen many shows with him. Maiden fan just to the hilts. We love you, buddy, and cheers to you, and we're still thinking about you. So there's our and there's a ton more music people that passed away and stuff, but like they're pretty much the ones that I could find that were from what we listened to. And then so I just wanted to give them some mention and give our boy RA a shout out. And while we're on the subject of sadness, what was your most disappointing album this year, Dylan?
Do we want to go in? No, I'm just gonna. My disappointing album, a band that we've talked about on the podcast before, a band called Green Day. They came out with an album called "The Father of All Motherfuckers," and the strange thing is it's on a lot of people's best of lists.
Really,
but I did not like it. It's really weird because the first single they released does not sound like Green Day at all. I'm gonna play it for you during the break, and you wouldn't even know that it was Green Day. Unless somebody told you. I don't know. It feels like they're going for like a. I can't even put it to words. I just don't like the direction they were going in this album.
Okay.
My honorable mention for that was Theory of a Dead Man, who are now just going by Theory with Say Nothing, and that album does absolutely say nothing.
It says nothing.
Yeah, it's not a good album. But Green Day was my biggest disappointment.
Okay. How about you, BC?
I have so many. I can go on that long.
Jeez.
Anyway, I don't think it's. Yeah. I got a list of not worst, just like not what I.
Yeah,
thought
not
it would
worse.
be,
Just
or,
what
you're
disappointed in them.
But I'm gonna go. I mean, this is one of the House of Lords, New World.
Okay.
It's good, but I was expecting something. I don't know.
I think
It's just me, probably, but.
And that's a good point, and I didn't even think of that one. Like, but that album, it gets stronger as it goes along. Like, it loses you're lost in the beginning, but I think it gets better at the end. Like how some albums like it kind of loses you.
Yeah,
but this one picks up as it goes. Yeah, I forgot about that one. I like it, I do, but it's not up to what the last couple ones were. All right, and
they're one of my steady bands. Like you'd have to give a worry about.
And and it's not going to stop me from picking up whatever they come out with either. You know what I mean? It's not terrible, but it's just not totally what you expected. And my pick is in that same realm. And actually, I was showing it to Dylan. I said this is the one BC's probably going to pick. The Every Mother's Nightmare album, Resurrect the Faithful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get into this album for some reason. It's good, but
it's weird.
It's got a different feel to it. I can't quite place what the scoop with it is, but like I said, I like it, but it's not what I thought it was going to be. I think maybe that's the best way to describe that. So all right, so Dylan's got Green Day for disappointing. BC's got a little House of Lords, and mine I have Every Mother's Nightmare. And check them out. Definitely let us know what you guys think. I won't be checking out the Green Day album, but I am familiar with the ones that BC and I talked about. So, all right, so let's get back into happiness here, and we'll enjoy our gem song this week, Going Into the Gym. And this is from an album that came out in 2020 this year. And this is a band that I saw, I don't know, probably 2 or 3, at least 3 times, I think, on the last, I think maybe 2 Kiss Cruises ago, or the last Kiss Cruise, I forget which one it was. Thunder Mother, all-female band from, I think they're either from Sweden or Finland, I think, or Norway, one of the Scandinavian countries. Forgive me for my ignorance on their origin. But their album this year, actually, Heat Wave, it's called, literally just missed my top 10. It is a rockin' album. If you like bands like older AC/DC, Airborne, they're like a female version of that, just absolutely rocking band, and the song's called Into the Mud, so check out some Thunder Mother. All right, we are back, and I hope you guys enjoyed Into the Mud by Thunder Mother from the Heat Wave album. Came out this year. Fantastic, just hard-rocking album, so I hope you guys check that out. And we'll do our little hidden gems, and I'm going to go first this week. This is not really hidden. It's actually a new song. It literally just came out yesterday from when we're recording, and today is the 16th of December. And but this, I'm really, really looking forward to this album. I was looking forward to it, but when it was first announced it was coming out, I pre-ordered it. We met this guy at the Rockin' Pod last year, myself and BB, and then I met him and talked to him briefly on the Monsters of Rock cruise. Jason Bieler, formerly of Saigon Kick, he has a solo album coming out. It's called Songs for the Apocalypse. Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra. I was ordering this because he's a cool guy and I wanted to support him, but I had no idea what the music was going to be like because he has like some other solo album out and it was like weird. But like he has 2 songs released, but the song I'm going to talk about today is it's called Bring Out Your Dead. This song absolutely fucking rips. And it have you checked it out, BC?
No, I have not.
Okay, check it out because there's flashes of Saigon Kick in this song. I'm like, holy shit! It's like there's parts I'm like, that's like definitely like Saigon Kick. So the song is "Bring Out Your Dead" by Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra. Songs for the Apocalypse is the album, and I think you can pre-order it. I think the vinyl is sold out for pre-order, but you can pre-order the CD. So I can't wait for that to come out. I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you know what the song title is probably a reference to?
The Stand. Bring Out Your Dead.
I was going to say Body Python of the Holy Grail, but...
Oh, I don't know. That's one of the things in The Stand. Bring out your dead. In the movie, it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar saying that.
Yeah, Monty Python came first, so maybe Stephen King was referencing
could be
that as well. So there you go. You're learning things every day.
All right. What do you got, though?
My hidden gem is a show that I actually just started watching today, so jury's out whether it stays good, but from what I've saw, it's really great. It's on Netflix. It's a limited release, a limited series that's a documentary series called Break It All, The History of Rock in Latin America. And it kind of showcases how rock and roll and hard rock and stuff like that kept going in Latin America, because we always hear about Chuck Berry and we hear about Elvis and rock and roll in the United States, but it's cool hearing about it from like in the South, like what happened with them, because they Richie Valens with La Bamba, that kind of started the thing for them,
right?
And it's really cool hearing a genre of music that we're so familiar with evolve in another country and evolve in a way that isn't necessarily the same as it did in America or other countries. So that really interesting documentary series that I suggest everybody watch. Break It All, The History of Rock in Latin America. Of course, it is all in Spanish, so you have to
read the subtitles.
But I have subtitles on regardless because I can't hear dialogue for shit.
Right.
Because they mumble all the time. But
you should be used to it with BC.
Yeah, I need subtitles underneath BC's every time he talks.
We just bring an interpreter for him. We just give him alcohol and his voice clears right up. All right, cool. What do you got, BC?
I'm a toss up here. I'm gonna flip a coin here. Let's see what happens. All right. This one's gonna be. It's pretty much just an instrument. So it gets guitar, electric guitar, and acoustic guitar together. It's from a band called Death. It's called Voice of the Soul. Cool. I mean, I was listening to like a Megadeth channel on some kind of streaming, and this came up, and I was like, this sounds cool. And then like when you look into the band's like totally different than most of the stuff they do. But very cool guitar and back and forth between acoustic and electric together. Very cool.
There's no drums or bass or anything?
Back from 1998. No drums. Pretty much just guitar and acoustic guitar and electric.
Huh. That's cool.
Voice of the Soul from 1998. This is nothing recent. They've been around forever, this band, but
That's interesting. All right. Cool. There's our gems. I have Jason Bieler and the Von Bielski Orchestra. Bring out your dead. Excellent song. BC's got Death, Voice of the Soul, electric and acoustic guitar. Dylan's got what's it called?
Break It All.
Break It All.
Rock in Latin America.
So that looks interesting too. Does it get into like any metal stuff?
I'm only in the first episode, so
okay.
We're still on the 50s and stuff. So we're a long way from metal, but I think it does get into some harder rock for sure.
Okay. All right.
Let's gotta talk about Maiden.
Maiden's not from Latin America. They played in Latin America. That doesn't. Why are we talking? This is for their bands, the Latin American bands. We're not talking about English bands. Come on.
No, but they'll probably talk if they get into metal stuff.
Maybe,
I'm sure there'll be a big influence on a lot of them.
Yeah, but like,
hell yeah.
not, let them talk about like bands that they themselves have, because you don't hear about them. Give them the spotlight.
All right.
How many times have you heard about Maiden?
Dylan's yelling at us over his gym. All right, so that's our gems and our little battle for the evening. Before we get back into our list, let's talk about our podcast pick album of the year. We had a discussion. There were 3 different ones we talked about, and this one came up. I think a pretty clear winner. Excellent album. And Dylan, tell us what it is.
The album is drumroll please. Heat 2 by the band Heat. You're late on the drum roll. Way to go. I asked for one thing.
Why we thought you were going to put it in.
Yeah, Heat 2. Fantastic album. I think a majority of us had a Heat song in our best songs of the year so far. So that's really what sparked it for me to cast my vote towards Heat. That we all seem to like it. It's just, they have this really good uplifting feel on the album. That just, it has that like, fuck yeah, you can take on the world that I really enjoy. And it's something that we all needed, a little ray of hope in 2020. And I think it was the perfect album to give it that, in my opinion.
What do you think, BC?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I heard of these guys, but never heard them until the cruise. And I guess when they came out, and such a fun, exhausting, a combination of everything, and cranking band. Very surprised, and like I said, in this album, it was pretty much a no-brainer for all of us to go with this for the album of the year.
Yeah,
fun rock. I'm a little nervous now that they're going back to the old guy, but I have my fingers crossed.
Yeah. We just got into these guys, and they went back to their original singer. He's good though. They did a video of him singing one of the newer songs, so it was good. But this album was
it was a bit.
Yeah, this album's been a staple for me since it came out. It came out I think the week after the cruise, and I've been rocking to this album like almost weekly since we've been since it came out, and absolutely fantastic songs like Rock Your Body, Dangerous Ground, Come Clean, Victory, We Are Gods. One by One is one that absolutely sticks in my head. And it closes out with the song Rise. That song is just so goddamn good. And there is not a skippable even moment on this album for me. Sometimes even if there's a cranking album and I really love it, there's maybe one part you're like, but this album does not have that for me. It's absolutely fantastic, just a kick-ass album. And if you guys have not checked out this album, pick it up because you will not be disappointed. If you're listening to this show and you like the kind of music we talk about, this album is definitely one for you. So it's Heat 2. It was released February 21st, 2020. And just absolutely kick-ass. So, give these guys a listen. It's absolutely fucking fantastic. So let's get back into our list. We'll go up to our number uno. So what do you got, BC?
All right, top 5. Number 5 for me, Striper with Even the Devil Believes. This is one of those bands in my book keep getting better and better, even though you think it can't happen. But some bands play toe, but these guys keep getting better and better. And the song that sticks out in my mind off this is Divider. Just so heavy. Guitar and that is such a great album. Number 4, Kennedy with Warrior. If anybody's never heard this band, just check these guys out. Straightforward rock, and there's not a skippable song on this album. Stand out for me, of course, it would be Out for Blood. Number 3, my boys at Armored Saint with Punch in the Sky. You can't go wrong with Armored Saint. I'm such a fan of John Bush. A standout track on this one would be Missile to Gun. And then I got my number 2 would be Archon Angel with the album Fallen. Came out back in February. This guy is from, nobody knows what this is, Zach Stevens from Sabotage fame. This is his latest band. And standout on this album would be Hit the Wall. And then my number 1 of the year, going back to this February, would be Black Swan with Shake the World. This is one of the albums that you're waiting to come out, and it did not disappoint like some other ones did. And standout track in this would be Immortal Souls. That's my top 5.
All right, good picks. What do you think, Don?
Yeah, Kennedy is just missed my list. It was by the barest of margins. A fantastic album. We know and love Carl. We've had him on the podcast quite a bit, but I really did love that album. Very cool to hear that band, and I'm super excited that the singer is going to be part of the Rods. I feel that he's going to be a really good addition to the band, and I'm really excited to hear what they do with him. So I really enjoyed Kennedy's Warrior. That was a great album. Cool album cover too. The other ones, I don't think I listened to, but I have heard of.
You listen to Striper?
I did listen. Sorry, I did listen to Striper. Yeah, I liked the one before it better, but I did enjoy what they did in this one. I liked how heavy the other one was compared to this. This is like
More melodic.
a little more melodic, which is fine. They're good at melodic as well, but I just like the take it to the cross from the other one. I like that direction a little better. And nothing beats Yahweh from the album before that. So that's my bar that I have set for Striper.
All right. Yeah, Striper, that literally just missed mine. That was going to be one of my honorable mention albums.
Was also when both Kennedy and Striper were in the running for Podcast Album of the Year as well.
They were. Yep, they were the other two that we were talking about being the group pick. Striper, fantastic. I like it. I think it's a fantastic album. And I like how Michael Sweet put out a post on Facebook, and it was a tweet too, which I love to hear. They put on who plays what solos on the songs, like
that's great.
in which order. I love that because, and actually, you can pretty much, if you're a Striper fan, you can pretty much tell. But sometimes it's a little hard to tell because you have a kind of like a Dave Murray, Adrian Smith kind of vibe between the two of them, like the stylistic wise. Fantastic. Armored Saint, like I said before, that just missed mine. I got to listen to the end of the album a little more. I think it needs to grow me a little bit more. Arch on Angel is fantastic. BC turned me out of that one. And actually, we rocked to that when we went down to the vinyl, the record sale just before everything closed the fuck down. And Black Swan, you're going to hear about that maybe when I talk. So there's BC, good solid picks. Excellent. I really enjoy them. And Kennedy, you're going to hear about that later as well. For me, I will go next, I think. Let me see. I do have myself down next. So my next picks are, my number 5 is going to be Black Swan, Shake the World. Fantastic album. In BC, you were totally correct when you said this was an album that you were anticipating coming out, and when it did, it did not disappoint at all. So absolutely fantastic album. My next one is going to be from our buddy from Restrained Tony. Restrained album. It's a short album. It's only like 8 songs. It's like 30-minute song. But I'll tell you what, it's fantastic melodic hard rock. And if you want to get a taste of it, just check out the song Smolder on there. Absolutely fantastic song. Kick ass. My next one, what did I said Black Swan, right?
Yep.
Okay. On Black Swan, my standout on there is either Big Disaster or Shake the World. Just great. Reb Beach absolutely tears it up on this. Excuse me, on this album. Just absolutely kick ass. And number 3, I gotta go to the Alcatraz album, Born Innocent. And now Graham Bonnet is out of fucking Alcatraz, by the way, which is weird. But this Born Innocent album is fantastic. Songs like Polar Bear, Finn McCool is freaking fantastic. I Am the King, Paper Flags. And this album just absolutely ripped. The guitar playing is fantastic on it. It absolutely shreds in spots on here. And for these next 2 albums for me are going to be a tie for the top spot, okay? Because it was so hard for me to decide. I listened to both of these albums a ton. One more than the other because it's been out longer. But and the number 1 is going to be probably a shock to any of our listeners that have heard me rail against this band forever. So like the number 2 is the Kennedy album. Absolutely fantastic. I got to check out this album before it came out, and it's just fantastic. Songs like Do It Now, Not Even Love is fantastic. Mike's vocals are just kick-ass, and you have Charlie on guitar and Tony on bass and Carl on drums. I was listening to it today, and the song Lies is the drums and the drum fills on that, and his snare sound is just so fucking fantastic. And one thing I forgot to mention when we did the interview with Carl and the band was the song Hell Ride that Tony sings. Just a scathing song. It's fucking fantastic. And I apologize, Charlie, for not... Tony rather sings this song. I apologize, Tony, for not mentioning that in the interview when we did it, but just a fantastic album. And are you ready for my number one, Dylan? My number one is the Blue Oyster...
Wow.
Blue Oyster... See, I'm so shocked I can't even fucking say it. The Blue Oyster Cult album, The Symbol Remains. I cannot get this album out of my head. I don't know why. It's literally the first Blue Oyster Cult album that I've listened to all the way through ever. It came out and I was like, all right, I'm gonna check this album out. I'm gonna see what this album is all about. See how and I know Godzilla and Don't Fear the Reaper and Burning for You, all that shit. You know what I mean? But I couldn't even tell you. I don't even think I know any of the names of any other albums, truthfully. I know there's one with a fighter plane on the front. But it opens up with That Was Me, heavy as hell song. And the next song, Box in My Head, I'm like amazed that I like the song. I don't know, this whole album, it's just so good. I cannot get it out of my headphones. Songs like Tainted Blood, Edge of the World is absolutely fantastic. It's fantastic. BC, I want you to listen to this album, and Dylan, I want you to listen to it. You guys are probably going to be going, what is the matter with you? But I don't know what it is about this album. I think it's just fantastic, and I cannot get it out of my head. And I literally have probably listened to this album 10 times in the last 4 days. So absolutely check it out. Blue Oyster Cult, The Symbol Remains. So there's my list. What do you think, Dylan?
I mean, I have listened to the Blue Oyster Cult album. I'm probably the person that likes Blue Oyster Cult the most on this podcast, I would say. Or is the most familiar with them.
Yeah.
But, it's a good album. I mean, I like their classic stuff better, but Buck Dharma, you can't go wrong with his guitar playing. He's just fantastic. And I like how they're trying out different styles on each of the songs. Everything has a different feel to it, which is really cool. Makes for an eclectic album, but everything still goes together pretty well. We already talked about Kennedy. That's a fantastic album. And the stuff I heard from Alcatraz is really good too. The guy does pretty well being close to Yngwie, but still
It has the feel.
Yeah, still feeling unique, which I really appreciated, especially since I'm very anti-Yngwie nowadays. But this was it was a good top pick. I thought I really enjoyed your number one pick for sure. We need to talk about Blue Oyster Cult more on the podcast, I think.
Maybe we'll get Dave Borowski. We'll do an episode.
Yeah, there you go. He's the perfect guy to bring on.
Yep.
Yeah.
He could like Mark's our Rush guy.
He'd be our guy.
And Jim is our
Cult.
Motorhead guy. Yeah. Dave could be our Blue Oyster Cult guy.
Well, there we go.
We'll have the whole population of Simpson listen to this podcast if we do a Blue Oyster Cult episode. All right. What do you think, BC?
I'm familiar with 3 of the 5. Restrained. That just missed my list too, because I think I got that later in the year. Cranking album. Alcatraz, I'm going to check that out, and I got to check out this Blue Oyster Cult because you've been talking about this for about good 3 solid months or more.
All right. Very cool. Thank you guys for the semi-love, I guess you could say it. Let me give, before we let Dylan go, we'll give BB's top 5 here. He's got number 5, he's got Doc and the Lost Songs, 1978 to 1981, which was very cool.
That's a collection, right?
Yeah. It's just like stuff that they didn't release, like demos and stuff like that that were cleaned up. He has Striper, Even the Devil Believes at number 4. He's got the Ozzy album, Ordinary Man, at number 3, which that album's getting fucking bashed to hell, but I really enjoy that album. I think it's fantastic. He's got AC/DC Power Up at number 2, and he has Hair of the Dog, Big Bones, as his number 1, which is a greatest hits album, but he put in the text, I know it's a greatest hits album, but I've definitely listened to the most out of all the albums. So so BB took the easy way out on that one.
Wow, way to pull a Steve.
Oh, wow. Someone's getting their ass busted besides me. Love it. Thanks, BB. Appreciate it, buddy. Taking the fucking heat off me for a change. All right. So what do you think, Dylan?
Besides the blatant foul, of having a greatest hits album as your number one album of the year. That's a 2020 move right there. But Ozzy, you will be hearing about in a few minutes. AC/DC. So I like the album. I like a lot of the songs on the album, but for me, it's just an okay album. It's a par for the course, middle of the road AC/DC album in my opinion. I love that they're back. I think that itself is worthy enough to have mention on the episode, and clearly a lot of the people that you polled also liked AC/DC Power Up, but I don't know. I wasn't as... I definitely think it's better than Rocker Bust and Black Ice. I mean, there are some good songs on both of those too, but yeah, it's okay. I'm missing Malcolm. I'm missing Malcolm on it.
Yeah. All right, what do you think, BC?
Dokken, not too bad. I mean, freshen up some way older tune. Striper, of course, we know what I think about that. Ozzy, good album. I mean, but nothing stood out. You know what I mean? Same thing with AC/DC. Another good album, but it's the usual AC/DC. And BB's number one pick is a great band. I mean, it's not new material, but it's awesome to finally get that on vinyl. They're such an underrated band back. Unfortunately, just came out at a bad time, I think.
Now, let me ask you: is that a re-recorded version of their greatest hits?
No, it's
so they just took the songs.
Well, it's remastered by Michael Wagner.
Remastered doesn't mean anything to me.
Remastered, remixed, I don't know. One of them two.
If it was re-recorded, I could maybe give it to them because they were redoing the songs. But if the band didn't do anything new, why are we putting it on the list?
He's not letting BB up for air.
I think, what if Guns N' Roses came out with the greatest hits album this year?
They did.
I'm not going to put that on my list. I love all those songs, but it's not a new thing.
It's a Walmart exclusive. All right, for me, the Dokken one's a good. It's a good pick because it's not re-release material. It's all songs that we haven't heard before.
Yes, that I could. That's fine.
Yeah. Striper, we talked about that. The Ozzy album, like I said before, I think that album is a much maligned album, but I really like it. I think it's a good album. A lot of songs about him dying on there. AC/DC Power Up, I like it. It's got to grow a little more on me, but there are some really, really good stuff on there. I like the feel of this album. It feels different than the last couple albums, and these are songs that were demos and stuff that Malcolm did. So the spirit of Malcolm is there, and they were going to incorporate his playing in this, but they felt it would sound like too chopped up and stuff. So it is Georgie Young playing the rhythm guitar on this. The tone's pretty much the same. It does have a little bit of a different feel than what you get from Malcolm, but I like it as a solid album. And Hair of the Dog, Big Bones, BB, I gotta go with Dylan on this one.
There are so many albums that came out this year. Do you pick a greatest hits album?
I know. I gotta give the thumbs down on that one, BB. That'll be.
He's still getting kicked.
It's good though. It's really good. And like BC said, they were a fantastic band. They came out at just a terrible time for hard rock music, but just a great band. Ryan Spencer Cook, fantastic, great guy. We're hoping to get him on the podcast here for an interview to talk about this album. So there's our. Mine BC's and BB's. So Dylan, what do you got for the rest of it?
Well, before I go into the rest of my songs, the rest of my albums, I want to give. I don't think I gave key tracks on my albums for the first part, so I want to do that real quick. So key track on Poppy's I Disagree, I would go Concrete. Really great. That shows you what kind of mindfuckery you're going to get into with it. On Trivium, What the Dead Man Say, Catastrophist, I think I mentioned those. Mm-hmm. Body Counts, Carnivore, I would pick Carnivore. Point the Finger, When I'm Gone is really great. Their cover of Ace of Spades is fantastic. Mr. Bungle, you have to go Anarchy Up Your Anus. Fantastic song, really fun. Bungle Grind is also very good on there. And Haken, I'm going to say probably Prosthetic, Canary Yellow. And I really like the Messiah Complex suite that they do. They do 5 parts of it, split into different things. So unlike Dream Theater, who just does it as one 40-minute track, they'll actually split it into different tracks on the album. So going into my not my top 5, but the last 5. The last 5 songs, the last 5 albums that I'm going to be talking about. This first one that actually just made my list today. I was hemming and hawing back and forth on what my list was going to be, and this one just squeaked in. The latest album from Deftones. That's a band you haven't heard from in a while. Ohms, it's called. Released September 25th, 2020. 4 years after their last album, Gore, which was released 4 years after the album before it. So they're doing like a 4-year cycle here. Really cool, low-key album. It's moody. It's almost got a Tool / Radiohead-ish vibe to it. It's some nice songs to zone out to. Genesis is a great song on there. Urantia is very good. The Spell of Mathematics, very good song. It's a cool. I think you would like it, having liked Tool's latest album. I think you would enjoy it. So yeah, that Ohms from Deftones. My next album I want to talk about is I included one of the songs from this album on the 2020 Songs of the Year. Palimpsest from the band Protest the Hero. Very cool, another progressive metal album. Wild guitar work, cool time changes, very high-pitched vocals. And it's just after the lead vocalist had to basically redo how he does vocals because he blew out his voice. And he had to kind of reinvent how he sings. But songs from there, The Canary, All Hands is great. The Fireside's fantastic. A really, really fun album that's got some unique time signatures. You know me and my prog metal. Very, very cool. The next album, an album that actually a lot of people that we polled had on their list, from Testament, Titans of Creation. They're just a classic thrash band. They would be in the big 4 of thrash metal besides the big 4 for me. The key song and the song that I have stuck in my head is Children of the Next Level, about Heaven's Gate. Through Heaven's Gate. I've had that stuck in my head ever since this album came out back in April 3rd. It's a great, fast-paced, hard rock, thrash album. World War III is fantastic. Ishtar's Gate is also really good. False Prophet, Code of Hammurabi. These are all fantastic songs from a thrash band that just keeps chugging along. Chuck Billy, coming in and doing his awesome vocals. Their Testament could do no wrong in my mind. They're fantastic. Of course, they did that cover of Nobody's Fault, which was fantastic as well. But yeah, Titans of Creation, another great album to add onto my list. My second to last album that I'm going to be talking about, album that BB had on his list and some other people did, that you say is getting bashed. I loved it. Ozzy Osbourne's Ordinary Man came out February 21st. So I get David Bowie Black Star vibes from this album. Like you were saying, there's a lot of songs about death. There's a lot of reflective stuff on this album that you don't see from Ozzy that much. Sure, you have like I'll make you defecate, straight to hell. You have that part, but then you have songs like Ordinary Man or All My Life, where he's just looking back on his career, on his life, and it takes you back. You're a little surprised by it, but the guitar playing's great on it. There's Andrew Watt, who was Post Malone's guitar / producer, who does most of the guitars. But you also have Slash playing. Tom Morello's on 2 songs. But the thing that stand out for me is Chad Smith on drums, Duck McKagan on bass. The thing that stands out for me is the duet with Elton John, Ordinary Man. Well, number one, I'm a sucker for any duet with Elton John. He's a consummate showman. Fantastic. He puts out great music. His album this year was not too bad either. But they were the perfect duo to do it because he was also doing a farewell tour as well this year. So it was a nice little kismet that they were doing it together. But Ordinary Man is one of my favorite songs of the year. It's just like it hits you, and I love the vocals. It's really good. So I had to put Ordinary Man on the list. It's a great album from Ozzy. It's definitely better than Scream, which I wasn't a fan of.
I wasn't either.
I think it's probably one of his best albums in years, for sure. I mean, it's been 10 years since Scream, so, But my number 1 album of the year, this is a band that came out of nowhere for me, a super group. I'm sure you know it, Dad. It has to be Reluctant Hero from Killer Be Killed. Came out 2 days before my birthday, November 20th. And this album is just fucking fantastic. It's front to back, fantastic. You have 3 vocalists on it. The guitar works great. Each vocalist adds something new, something different to the proceedings. I just think it's a really great showcase of what a supergroup can be. And I honestly was blown away by this album. And it stayed, like, once I listened to it, it stayed at number 1 on my list for the year, because it's a great metal album, for sure. So that's my list.
All right.
Stick it to it.
Cool. What do you think, BC?
Oh, boy. Testament. That just missed my list. Like I said, Chuck Billy sounds excellent on this album. And I'm with Dylan. Testament's one of those bands, keep coming out, keep going, and they never let you down. I never heard of Deftones, actually. It was the other one, Pound Fest, or was that the name of the album?
Palimpsest was the name of the album from Protest the Hero.
Protest there. Okay, I didn't hear those guys. Like you said, Ozzy one, yeah, I agree with you. Like, good album, and like I said, it's weird for Ozzy to be reminiscent, I guess you would say, about death and all this kind of stuff. And then Killed or Be Killed. I put a circle around Killed or Be Killed and Blue Oyster Cult, because they're 2 bands I got to check out, because you guys are both talking about these guys, so it's got to be something going on there.
Yeah, you would love Kill or Be Killed. It's a really...
Yeah, you will. If you like the Testament album, you'll like that.
Okay.
Not saying that they're Testament, but it's that kind of vibe.
It's got that heaviness.
Yeah. And for me, the Deftones, no idea. Protest the Hero, no idea. Testament album is fantastic, and you're right. The Children
of the Next Level.
Children of the Next Level is just one of my favorite songs of the year. It's one of my favorite songs of the year.
It's stuck in my head.
It's just one of them songs that, like, I could put on just like repeat, and I like it that much. Like I said, the Ozzy album, I like it, and when it came out, people were bashing the hell out of it. I think it's a solid album. It's way better than Scream. I think it's better than Black Rain.
Yeah.
It's just, and to think these guys recorded it in like a week. I think they wrote it and recorded it in a week, but it's fantastic.
And I don't think anybody had on their bingo cards Ozzy doing a collaboration with Post Malone. I sure didn't.
No.
But both songs are really good. Because Ozzy was on his one song, Take What You Want From Me, I think is the song. Is that right, Carson? Is that the Post Malone song?
He doesn't know.
Here, it's Take What You Want. Take What You Want, and then Post Malone is also on It's a Raid, which Tom Morello plays the guitar on.
Okay.
But good stuff.
Yeah, I enjoy that album. I think it's solid. I even picked that one up on vinyl as well. And Kill or Be Killed. That didn't make my list because I didn't spend enough time with it, but it is fantastic. It's one of them albums that instantly grabbed me. I just didn't have enough time to really sink my ears into it. But great picks though. There's our picks, and before we go on, I want to give you BB's most disappointing album was the Blackstone Cherry album, Human Condition.
That's surprising.
Yeah, I was very surprised to hear that. I didn't get a chance to listen to that album at all, so. And I know BB's a big Blackstone Cherry guy, so for him to be disappointed in that, I'm kind of a little more leery to listen to it now. But knowing him and how him and I go back and forth, I may fucking love it. So we'll have to check that one out. So let's. So I hope you guys liked our top 10. We'll read them off all again at the end when we're gonna go wrap up. Let's talk about live albums for a couple minutes. We each picked a couple live albums for the year. Here's BB's albums, his live albums: Iron Maiden, Knights of the Dead live in Mexico City. He's got Dee Snider for the Love of Metal live, and he's got Metallica S&M 2. We'll just read them. We don't need to spend a lot of time talking. Just say a couple things about them, and we'll just let BB sit where it is. The only thing I'm going to talk about his, because like one of the other ones is on mine. The Dee Snider for the Love of Metal. I didn't even think of that album. It's really good though, because it's a mix of his solo stuff, especially from the last album, Love of Metal. And there's some cool Twisted Sister songs on there as well. So what do you got for live albums, BC?
I got Dee Snider for the Love of Metal. I mean, that's because
there you go.
The band is cranking. Iron Maiden, Night of the Dead, of course. How can you not have Maiden? And, of course, my number one would be the Dream Theater with Distant Memories live in London.
Cool. Good picks. One of them you may hear on mine. The Dream Theater, like I said, I actually did listen to that album all the way through. It's very good. I love the newer stuff on there, like was it Untethered Angel?
Untethered Angel,
that's freaking fantastic.
Barstool Warrior,
Pale Blue Dot, I think is on there.
good stuff. They're solid. I don't have a lot of time to devote to them. And my albums, there's going to be my number one album. This album came out a couple weeks ago. The new Volbeat live album, Rewind, Replay, Rebound, live in Deutschland. This album it's like 2.5 hours long.
It's a long album,
but it is fucking just one cranking song after another, kick ass. I also have Iron Maiden, Knights of the Dead, Legacy of the Beast live. And my number 3, and this is kind of tied with Maiden for me, the Pretty Maids, 30th anniversary of Future World, made in Japan. Love those guys. If there's a Pretty Maids album put out in a year, it's going to make one of my lists. That's all I got to say about that. What do you got, Dylan?
My live albums that I wanted to spotlight, I also at Dream Theater. Really great to hear both Scenes from Memory and the new stuff get played live. Plus, Nightmare to Remember, which is one of my favorite tracks off of Black Cloud and Silver Linings. Really cool to hear that live. This one's not a re-release, but it's the first time they released the album version of it. Avenged Sevenfold's live in the LBC. That was one of my live albums that I talked about this year. That's a really good live album, I think. I really enjoy that. And then my last one is, of course, Eyes Nine Kills. I heard they kill live. This was an album I've been waiting for. It plays all the good songs from the Silver Scream album, which is a fantastic album. Made my list back when that came out. But, yeah, that's a really great live album. A good showcase of the band.
All right, very cool. There's our top albums, our live albums, our disappointing album, and we're going to wrap up. We'll go around. Before we do, I want to talk and thank real quick Mark Hoover that got us some really cool interviews this year. Here's the ones we had. Mark and myself, we interviewed Carmine Apiece and Vinny Appice. We pronounced that however you want. Just a fantastic, fun interview with those guys. Him and BB, they had an interview with Jesse James Dupree. We interviewed Rob Halford, Alice Cooper, Rick Emmett from Triumph. We did Graham Bonnet, Don Dock, and we did Carl Kennedy and the Kennedy Band. Just some cool interviews out there. Go back and check them out in our archives there. We just had some really cool interviews this year, guys.
Yeah, I was really on cloud 9 after interviewing Alice Cooper. That was something that I never thought would happen in my life. The person that I've seen most live, it was just, even for 5 minutes, it was just a surreal experience. And I know you probably felt the same thing with Rob Halford. It was just like...
it was just too short.
Too short, yeah. Now, it was video, right?
No, it was just audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I at least had the video. Like, I got to see Alice Cooper just chilling on the... and he could see me. It was a weird, wild experience that definitely made a lot of the bad stuff of the year kind of wash away in my mind after that experience.
And for me, the Halford one was really cool, but like I said, painfully short, unfortunately. But the one we did with Vinny and Carmine was fantastic. I got to talk to Vinny about some Dio stuff and Sabbath, and then I asked Carmine Appice about a piece, whatever, about playing on the Take Me Away Together was one song on the Paul Stanley 78 solo album. That was really cool, talking about that. And the two that really stand out for me, though, because we could actually talk to these guys and have a good interview with them, was Don Dokken and Graham Bonnet. They were probably at least like a half an hour a piece, and it was cool because they were their last interviews of the day, and they just kind of seemed like they just wanted to talk, and it was they were two really cool interviews. And once again, Mark Hoover, thank you for for hooking us up with these interviews, and I'm sure we'll have more coming down the road. What do you think, BC?
No, like you said, that's cool. You guys got to interview these guys, and like Dylan actually being able to see Alice Cooper, I think that would be really phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. All right, so we're gonna go around. We're gonna wrap up. Guys, say your thank yous and read your list again, and check out our Spotify playlist. Dylan's gonna play a lot of this songs from albums we talked about tonight, and just give us one thing too that you're looking forward to next year as we wrap up. So go ahead, Dylan.
First, I want to mention some honorable mentions for albums that...
Oh, that's what I meant to do.
Yeah, didn't make my list as well. David Ellefson's No Cover album, that was a fantastic album.
Mm-hmm.
Kennedy Warrior was definitely an honorable mention for me. Nine Inch Nails came out with 2 albums, kind of. Ghosts 5 and 6. Ghost 5 is Together and Ghost 6 is called Locust. Ion Attraction, a local band, came out with an album called The Method on the very first of the year that just missed my list. And then the albums that would have been on my list if this was not a hard rock or heavy metal band are Taylor Swift's 2 surprise albums that she came out with, Folklore and Evermore. Fantastic songwriting on them. If you are a fan of stuff other than hard rock or heavy metal, I would definitely check it out because it's pretty stripped back. It's almost, folkish, but it's great. Like, everybody's singing the praises of it. So
is she naked?
It's an album.
Well, you said it was stripped down.
Okay. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank Christine for putting up with the podcast schedule, and I want to thank everybody for being fantastic. That came on the podcast. We love having you on there. A retread of my albums for the year are Haken's Virus, Mr. Bungle with The Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo, Deftones with Ohms, Body Count with Carnivore, Trivium with What the Dead Men Say, Protest the Hero with Palimpsest. I still struggle saying that one. Ozzy Osbourne with Ordinary Man, Testament with Titans of Creation, Poppy with I Disagree, and then my top album of the year was Killer Be Killed with Reluctant Hero. We're going to have all these, a good sampling of these albums on the Spotify playlist of the week that you mentioned. But be sure to let us know what your top albums of the year were. We would love to hear what, besides the people that already gave it to us. We don't want to hear from you again. But we want to hear from all you listeners and let us know what albums you really dug this year. If we missed any that you think are glaring omissions, or if you really hated one of our albums, let us have it. Give it to us with both barrels.
Or if you check out one that you didn't listen to and you loved.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, let us know if we gave you a good recommendation. That because we love getting validated in our taste of music. I think that's probably the biggest thing about the podcast that we get out of it.
and let us know what you think about BB's top picking a greatest hits album.
Yeah, let us know that you also think it's bullshit that he picked the greatest hits album as his top album of the year. But thank you for listening, and here's to another great year with the podcast. Well, here's to a better year with the podcast, we'll say. Overall.
We had a good year podcast-wise.
Podcast-wise, yeah, but overall, a better year.
All right, BC.
Alrighty, you guys pretty much touched base on a lot of bands that just missed my list, but one of them I want to say is Dynasty, The Dark Delight.
That's a great album.
I think that's really a great album. And like I said, I want to thank everybody who listens to us, first of all, and everybody's been on the show. You know who you are. And hopefully 2021 is a much better year for what am I looking forward to? Live shows. It seems like such a far memory of being at an actual concert anymore. It's weird. But that's what I'm looking forward to in 2021. And see, my 10 would be Sons of Apollo with MMXX, Corey Taylor, CMFT, Fates Warning, Long Day, Good Night, Lords of Black, Arch Enemy of the Souls Part 1, Bonfire, Fistful of Fire, Striper, Even the Devil Believes, Kennedy, Warrior, Armored Saint, Punch in the Sky, Archangel with Fallen, and Black Swan, that Shake the World.
All right. Thanks, BC. Thanks, Dylan. And thanks everybody out there for putting up with us, interacting with us, listening, downloading everything. You guys fucking rock. And like I said, if you haven't let us know what albums you guys thought were the best of the year, drop us an email at potterthanhellpodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook on our Potter Than Hell Facebook page, or one of us personally, and we'll read you out on the podcast. And I'm with BC. I'm looking forward to some live music next year. Like I said, we were fortunate enough to go on the Monsters of Rock cruise early this year before the world shut down. But it's been a tough year. So and I feel bad for the people that work at these venues and crews for these bands and stuff like that. I hope we can all get it back out there and rock together once again. And a couple albums that just missed my thing. Chakra, Mad World. The Ozzy album I talked about, New Dead Girls Academy, Dogs in Glass Houses, in Glass Houses it's called, the Thunder Mother album, Deep Purple, Whoosh, the Kansas album, Absence of Presence, just absolutely fantastic album. And and I want to thank you guys, BB, Dylan, BC. I would never be able to do this podcast by myself. It would suck just having to listen to me talk all the time. Anyways, I'm sure it sucks just listening to me talk what I do now. But you guys are the heart and soul of this podcast, and I appreciate you guys. And it's an honor for me to be able to put this podcast out with you guys. And it's always fun. We have a ton of laughs and a lot of ball busting. And it's just that it staggers me when I go back and look through the episodes of the amount of music that we listen to and talk about in a year on this podcast, and to think this is our third year, actually our fourth year, right? 17, 18, 19, 20. So this is really 4 years of doing this podcast. We started in July of 2017. And I was wondering before, when we talked about the podcast album of the year, we didn't do it on the first year. We each had our own picks. But then the second year, when we did it, 2018, we all absolutely, totally loved the Firepower album from Judas Priest. So that's when we started doing the podcast pick. So that was 2018. 2019, we had the Rods, the Brotherhood of Metal album, and we had Heat 2 this year. So, get out there, go back and check out our old episodes if you guys have not caught up with everything. And, check out all the stuff we've talked about today. And, once again, thanks for all of our guest hosts that came on here. And if I forgot anybody, please let me know. I hope I covered everybody, and I usually, fuck things up once in a while, often. But, so thanks everybody out there for listening. Have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever you guys celebrate. Everybody be safe out there. Thanks for listening. Check out our Spotify playlist. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Music if it behooves you, because it really helps us get us out there with other podcasts. And thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves and each other. And we will see you next time. And there definitely will be a next time.